For the last 30 plus years of football gaming, we've been held hostage by just pressing or tapping a button during a catch and hoping that a dice roll works in our favor. Now, for the first time, we can experience what it feels like to be a big physical wide receiver or a tight end and go up and fight for the ball. Welcome to the ultimate time-based catching meter guide. The new time-based catching meter feature has people confused, scared, and curious. Today I'm going to show you exactly what that meter is, what it isn't, why you should be playing with it on, and most importantly, some tips and tricks on how to help ensure that you can get consistently great timed catches. Now, I've provided chapters for you to skip around to the certain part that you need to skip around to, but I highly recommend do not skip this introduction, because before you know how to actually become good at using the meter, you have to know what the meter is and what it isn't to avoid frustration when actually trying to use the meter. Okay, so let's dispel some myths and misunderstandings about this new time-based catching, in particular the meter. Okay, we're gonna go rapid fire before we get into how to actually use the meter. Number one, let me make this clear. This is not NBA 2K's meter. I don't know what NBA 2K did to y'all. Some of y'all got some PTSD from meters. Even the word meter makes y'all start shaking. This is not NBA 2K's meter. What do I mean by that? There is no very early section on the meter, like a 2K jump shot meter. There isn't that section on this meter. The meter has a yellow, which is early, a green section, which is great timing or quote unquote perfect. Treat that as a high probability or a significant boost increase for a catch. It's extremely rare for your wide receiver or defensive back to drop a green time catch, although it's not impossible. So what could make your wide receiver drop a green timed catch? Let's say, for example, if your wide receiver gets hit sticked while fully extended for a catch while jumping in midair and he does a front flip, there's a chance that even though you greened it, he still might drop the ball in that scenario. Again, it's very rare and it's going to take a great defensive play, usually something that's in midair, to cause your wide receiver to drop, or at least even have the chance to drop, a green time catch. So it's not something that somebody's just going to be able to green every single time. Here's how I know that for a fact. The green meter does not show up at all times on every catch attempt. I've personally seen it when attempting a catch. Let's say there's a triple coverage and jump ball situation and I got a little 5'9" wide receiver and I'm surrounded by two safeties and a defensive back. There's been times where when I went up for the catch, since it was so congested, it didn't even show anywhere on the meter for a green area. It was nothing but yellow and red. Don't think that this is something that you can just go up with a little 5'9" wide receiver in triple coverage and still have a chance to green. You might still have a chance to catch it, but it's gonna be on yellow. You might not even see the green. The part that's green on the meter will shift a little bit to the right or to the left depending on how crowded the area is when trying to make a catch. So the green spot in the meter is never in the exact same spot every time, especially when it gets very, very narrow with a congested catch. So if you try to go up with a congested catch, sometimes the green part might be a little bit more towards the center. Sometimes it might be a little bit more towards the right of the meter. So it's not something that's consistently even in the same spot, which is a good thing. Now, since the green gives a big catch boost reward, of course, it has to be close to the red. Landing on red area, which results from holding the catch too long, that results in an automatic drop. So I need everybody to understand there is no penalty for landing in the yellow section. Only in the red section will you experience a penalty. If you land in the yellow or the early section on the timing, the game simply reverts to using your player's ratings and player's body position to factor in a dice roll type of calculation in the game's coding to determine if a catch is made. This is the same as it's been in football games the last 30 years, so there's absolutely no punishment for landing in the yellow. So what's the big takeaway so far? Since landing in the yellow doesn't punish you, but instead results in the same dice roll you're used to when tapping or pressing the button like you have been in the last 30 years of football video games, you shouldn't be going for green time catches on every single catch. That's one of the biggest mistakes you're gonna try to do with this. For example, during a game, I might only go for a green catch on maybe 10 to 15% of my catch attempts. The other, 85 to 90% of the time, I'm just landing in the yellow and doing the same thing. I use the green almost as like an emergency situation, or almost as like a tough catch opportunity, to where, if I'm running a goal line fade and I got a one-on-one 50 ball, I might go ahead and say, you know what, actually, let me try to time this to get into the green. Or if it's 4th down and 12 and I need a tough catch because I had to get rid of it early because my quarterback was under pressure, then I'm really going to try for a green. There's certain parts where you don't even want to try to go for a green. For example, quick slants or drag routes, I usually don't even go for a green catch because the ball's coming out too hot anyways. When the distance between the quarterback and wide receiver is that close, sometimes it's just too hard to even time it. So I just press it like I normally have been the last 30 years of football games. I land in the yellow somewhere and I get treated the same as it's always been. But I love the idea that we get a chance now to feel like a big physical wide receiver or big physical tight end and actually go up and fight for the ball, meaning there's really no reason not to play with it on. Again, if you land in the yellow, it's the same thing that you're used to. For those who think the meter is distracting, by the way, you can turn the visual UI for the meter off while still keeping time-based mechanism on. Now, I found out that height is going to determine how much it considers your wide receiver to be contested or not during a catch. Another common question, if the wide receiver and defensive back both get a green at the same time when going up for a catch, who does it default to? Very simple, it defaults back to the system that you're used to the last 30 years of football games. It's going to determine the ratings and the player's positioning, and it will determine who catches it based off of that. Also, understand that ratings still play a factor. Example, your wide receiver catch ratings and the defender player's ratings that are around him affect how much yellow, green, or red show in the meter. For example, trying to time a catch in the middle of a congested coverage with, let's say, Jeremiah Smith will give you more leniency on the meter since he's the best wide receiver in the game, but trying to do the same with some freshman no-name wide receiver from, Northern Illinois, you might not even see a green part show up in the meter. Okay, now let's get into the tips and tricks section on how to actually make you better and more consistent at timing in that green area, okay? When timing a catch, understand that the meter doesn't start until the ball gets a certain distance from your player. So if you start holding the catch button right after you pass the ball, you won't see the meter start to fill until the ball is a certain distance away from your wide receiver. Another way to approach the meter is to not start holding the catch button until the ball is very close to your wide receiver. So for those who like the idea of quickly trying to time a press button rather than holding it long term, you have that option as well. I'm not going to tell you which one is better or worse, holding it from the quarterback's release or trying to just press it at the last second. That's going to depend on you and your individual play style, but I wanted to let you know that you do have those two options to work with. Now, the meter changes speed based on how late you wait to start holding the catch button. The closer you let the ball get to you, the faster the meter will be when you press the button. So if you wait till the ball is 3 feet from your face, that meter is going to be very, very quick, right? If you start to do it where the ball is further away from you, it's going to move at a much more reasonable pace for you to time. Also, remember, I'll say it again, you can turn the meter off completely. Sometimes with your quarterback meter on and the catching meter on, it can get a little bit crowded to where it's hard to even see the meter. Okay, that is one thing that EA needs to improve. I wish they would allow us to put it underneath our wide receivers' feet, but play around with that and understand this meter is your friend, okay? It doesn't take away from the ratings. It doesn't take away from the game engine recognizing the player's positions, right? Even if you green a catch as a wide receiver, if the defensive back gets his hand on the ball before you do, it doesn't matter what you got on the timing-based meter because the defensive back just intercepted it or knocked the ball down, okay? The fact that the defensive back has a green meter too is great. I wish they would add it for the SWAT mechanic, because right now the green meter only shows up for a attempted catch mechanic as a defensive back, just like the wide receiver. I wish they would add it, or I hope they add it for the SWAT mechanic in future games, but for now, we have a system that really makes the game come alive and makes you feel like you are fighting in the air, along with the jostling animations that they've added. Now when you actually go up, you don't just press a button and hope and pray. If you want to, you can add some skill on top of the ratings that are already going on underneath the hood, on top of the player's body positioning being calculated. Now you can add some skill in there as well and make you feel like you're really fighting for those catches as a wide receiver and defensive back. This is a beautiful thing. I encourage everybody. I'm not a huge fan of meters myself, but I encourage everybody to at the very least play with the time-based catching on, and probably start with the meter on until you get better at it. Then you can turn the meter off, but keep the time-based catching on, because again, all it does is open up the opportunity when you need it to try to add some skill and get that green boost to your catch probability. If you don't like the idea, just keep tapping or pressing the button as you have been, land in that yellow, and it's the same thing you're used to. We went into depth here on this video. We're going into depth on other things like tackling and quarterback play, which are, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'm coming back with those videos very, very soon. I will see you soon. Peace.